Donttap podcast.
Hey, Donttap, who's got the props? Later in the week where we got picks and plays. This will be something that we'll be doing no matter what as a backup, just in case the podcast were to not get out, which is a very, very rare thing where we don't get two or three of us at the beginning of the week coming out with 2 or 3 spots each. So I will be hitting up props no matter if somebody comes on board with me later in the week or not. I will be jumping in to break down whatever I possibly can as far as what I'm going to be looking at as far as my plays. So looking at the card, I mean, there's certain spots I like. A lot of people are going to have their spots locked in. This is going to be going out Saturday morning. Going to be giving you time to sort of go over your spots, see if you want to back me, fade me, tail, whatever you want to do with it. You take the information, and I mean, if you're going off last week, you might want to fade, but we'll see. I'm feeling good about this card. We're only as good as our last card, though, so I will have to make up for the debauchery that was the last one. So let's dig into the spots. Actually, I'm going to really put myself out there right away out of the gate. We're going to go look at the main event. Although a lot of people, I think, are looking at and giving love to the vet, giving love to Yusuff Barboza. I get it as far as the striking. I get it as far as the strength of schedule and the savvy vet. But this isn't a case of a guy who's had a small amount of fights in the UFC that's coming up to fight him. This isn't a case of a guy who's coming in, off the Contender Series. This is a guy who's been through some wars in the UFC now, and I think presents a lot of problems as far as a matchup. If you're looking at a matchup between these two, I think that there's some things that he presents that's a problem. So, Yusuff Barboza obviously looking to use his range, pick you apart from the outside, but then also set you up to have you actually crash and bang and enter the pocket and then catches you with a counter. What he's been able to do a lot more, I would say the wrinkle in his game that has really stepped up is his short striking as far as the way he creates space. So the way he did against Billy Quarantillo, he's able to actually create that space and land the knee. Similar to even I know it's a homeboy, but Mike Malott, he creates space and lands the big hook. So when you're in the pocket, being able to do that is so important. And so Barboza, not just a one-trick pony from the outside, he's dangerous from the inside too. Sodiq Yusuff, though, he just presents a certain kind of power. And if you listen to Dan Hardy talk about when he was commentating one of his fights, he talks about just how the smack of the glove, just smacking off the opponent's face, and just the thud that it created, and just the sheer raw power that comes from Yusuff and the way he pushes guys back. If you look at Barboza in some of his losses, he didn't do well with guys that are going to pressure him, with guys that are going to hit him and make him pay when he actually gets hit. So to get him off of his game, I just think to pressure him, be in his face, Sodiq Yusuff presents a lot of problems. And it is a little bit narrative-y because there's not enough numbers to back it up. But I think Yusuff may try to implore a game plan of takedowns. And although he's not typically the guy that gets the takedowns in fights in the past, I just think that there's going to be a strength discrepancy here. I think that you can see how strong Sodiq Yusuff is in the clinch, and then the power that he does generate as well too. So I just think that we might see a takedown or two. I think he's going to be able to actually mix in some takedowns and at least create some control time at some point. Whether he gets them out of there, I don't know. I like the momentum of Yusuff. I just think that although Edson's still in it and still has all the tools to do it and compete at the highest level, I don't know. I just think two guys at two different types of their points of their career. I looked at the dog to see if there's value, but I just like Sodiq Yusuff in this side. If it's over minus 115, I think it's going to be a little bit of a closer fight. It's usually the chalk I stay off of, but I just think in matchup-wise, Sodiq Yusuff is going to be able to crash the pocket, land bigger shots, maybe even mix in some grappling off the cage, some cage control time. Sure, that doesn't necessarily bode as far as points, but as far as him actually sort of winning out rounds, whether it's on the cage or takedowns, plus with big shots, I just don't know. I think we're looking at Barboza landing a big shot to win this fight, or a big setup of shots. He's going to have to set it up. That's what Barboza does so well. He is the setup, more counter KO guy versus, I don't know. I think Yusuff is a spot here. I could be completely off my rocker, and I have been more recently. But, Taylor fade, I think we go with Sodiq Yusuff in this one. So next spot I want to talk about is probably another controversial spot, because I think that a lot of people that are on this, one side or the other, are pretty sort of. This seems to be one of the battles on MMA Twitter, or battles just in general. What we're looking at is we have Rodriguez against Simon. So really, I mean, Rodriguez, I think, being underestimated here by a lot of people. I think although the line is, him being the favorite, him being chalk, a lot of people are looking at Simon and thinking that he's going to come in here and steamroll him. There's a lot of people here that are pretty sharp that are talking about it. But if you look at it, man, I just think that Rodriguez has the greater upside. I think if it goes to decision, he has a chance to at least make it greasy on the feet, and then have the grappling upside as well too. I just think in some of his fights, obviously a lot of people are saying that he's inflated right now because of his fight against Rosas Jr. But he looked good against Rosas Jr., who's like comes in like a bat out of hell, but has the pedigree of the grappling to back it up at a high level. And Rodriguez, controlled him pretty much, vetted it. So for me, I just think that there is value in that. I think that his strength of schedule in the UFC thus far is a little bit better than what Simon has. We have Cameron Simon, who is what? I mean, Terrence Mitchell is round one, either win or loss, right? He's more bang or bust in that situation. Mano Martinez is a guy who I actually think is absolutely great, but I think is underperformed multiple times in the cage as far as where his potential is. I don't know if it's a mental thing or what. Against Costello took him down a bunch of times, and he did KO him late in the fight, but Costello wasn't really doing anything with it. It took him down 5 times. I just think if Rodriguez even implores a little bit of it, takedowns in this one, I think that he, having the greater chance of getting the takedowns. I think he's going to be able to mix those in, potentially even get control time on the ground, and even hunt for a submission to get some points. Maybe does not get the submission off, but gets points for the submission. On the feet, makes it greasy. I just think, I look back and forth, like, do I play Simon by, plus 3.5 at the, at the spread play? How do I do this? Because it is going to be close. But you know what? I don't want to get cute with it. I found it on Pinnacle right now, minus 139. I'm going to go with Christian Rodriguez. I just think that's the spot. These guys have prepared for each other before, not too long ago, and I think that he's going to be ready for this one. I think he's going to come in and just sort of make all of us go, yeah, okay, there we go. Because I think he is, I don't know what the ceiling is on him, but I just think he's the better, well-rounded fighter. Although Simon, I think, presents that power and that pop when he's landing. I think that is definitely a problem. And I backed him before in the past, but, he's been in some sketchy spots already, and I think that I like where Rodriguez sits. I like like I said, when we can get under minus 150, that's where I'm happy, and that was my spot. I almost did off this completely, but I definitely think, these guys, if they went back and forth, I think Rodriguez wins maybe 6 or 7 out of 10. Christian Rodriguez, minus 139 at Pinnacle. So minus 139 at Pinnacle, it seems to be a no-brainer for me. I just think that he's got the better upside as far as avenues anyway. Sorry, maybe not necessarily on the feet, but I think he has a greater chance to win it by decision, and I think he has a greater chance to win on the ground in the grappling realm. So next, I'm going to look at a play where, I was back and forth on, how I wanted to take a look at this fight. I was actually initially looking at Elkins at a spread play, because I think that there's a narrative out there that I just don't know if we have enough to really tell us that that's real or not. A lot of people right now are looking at Darren Elkins as done. Darren Elkins has taken way too much damage, and sure, like his last fight against Jonathan Pierce, who's JSP, who pushed pace and pressure, it didn't look good. He was getting cut up, and he has a scar tissue all over his face, around his eyes. He's been in a lot of wars, and we get that. I understand. He's only been KO'd twice, more recently, I would say, since 2018. I know that's still not a great thing to have on your record, but, I mean, he got caught by Lamas, and I didn't check this one back, but I believe it was a knee. So he got caught in that one. And the other one was Cub Swanson, who has power in his hands and finishing ability. So other than that, he's been in wars. He's been able to stick through. And I remember even people saying Elkins, going into his JSP fight, this was it for him. He's going to get KO'd and whatever else. There's this big narrative that the KO was coming, and this was what was baked into the price. But I don't see it, right? And typically what Elkins does where he has trouble is with people that push a higher pace and pressure than him. Either he's gonna get caught by somebody or push a higher pace and pressure, and that's where he loses decisions and or gets sort of eked out at the end. But I just don't see that in what TJ Brown's going to bring. I mean, although I do commend TJ Brown, quit drinking, sobered up. I think that probably had played a lot to do with his cardio issues. Trust me. I know this. Your cardio goes to shit. Also, durability issues, 100%. Constantly dehydrated is not a place to live when you're drinking. But here's the problem with this one. I don't know if that's going to still change overnight because of that scenario, and if it will even fully affect, his hydration to the point where it's going to create a cardio, a better cardio for him and or durability that's going to outlast big shots. But both guys are wrestlers. I think that TJ Brown, though, his striking style is a problem for this fight. And why? Because both guys can land 5+ takedowns in a fight. Both guys have done it in the past. And I think that if you see Elkins, who comes out of a camp that's traditionally wrestling, and if you look at his Instagram more recently, this is what we're looking at. There's a lot of wrestling going on. If he throws on his wrestling singlet, then we have TJ Brown coming the other way, who's been doing a lot of Muay Thai as well too. Muay Thai is a terrible base for striking when you're going up against a wrestler. You'll get taken down. So the thing about TJ Brown too is that he doesn't really present a pace and pressure that's going to really wear on Elkins. That's usually where he has the problem. So if Elkins is able to actually do what he needs to do and, push his opponent on his back foot, maybe wear out Brown's gas tank, mix in some wrestling and takedowns, that's got to be part of the game plan going into this fight. I'm sure Alpha Male is not happy with being out volume the way he was against JSP. They want him to look good in this fight, and there's a game plan that's going all in on this. The whole Alpha Male team's in on this one. So I don't know, man. I just think that Darren Elkins, there's value even as the dog. I was initially looking at just the line for +3.5. I think there's value in the +150, man. So I'm going to take Darren Elkins as my dog of the week. But I don't mind the -120 +3.5 because I think this actually could go the distance. But I think if there's a finish in this, I actually don't think Brown finishes Elkins. I think it's the other way around, and it's later in the fight. So give me Elkins money line. I think it's the best way to play it. +150. Let's go. So this next one that I'm going to bring up, it's a quick parlay that I put together. I'm not going to really dig too deep into this one, but this one is Emily Ducote against Ashley Yoder, and I'm going to go Emily Ducote by decision. And I just think that that's just the play on this one. I don't think Yoder's never been finished at this level, at least anyways. And on top of that, I just think that although the money line is just completely outrageous at this point, the way to play this would be by decision. So even that's a little bit chalk, but I just think it hits. I think that this fight is going to go to the decision. That's what it's screaming at, and Ducote is just, I think, going to piece her up. So we're going to go Ducote by decision, plus McKinney round 1 and 2. So I know that people are looking at maybe, Terrence McKinney may gas out going to the second. I just think that this is going to be a case of a short notice guy coming in to fill a role. The level's not there right now if you look at the record. I just don't see it on the other side. I know we're going in a little blind on this one, but I just think that McKinney round 1 and 2 is just the way to go on it. I looked at the under potentially, but fuck it. McKinney round 1 and 2 combined with Ducote by decision. That is the parlay, the greasy ass parlay, and that is -104. So -104, Ducote by decision, McKinney round 1 and 2. Darren Elkins, money line dog, +150, dog of the week for me. Rodriguez at Pinnacle, -139. Let's go. That's my money line play of the week, straight up. And then I'll look at the main event. For my main event play, I'm going to go on the side of Sadiq Yusuff, money line, -160. I think pace and pressure is just going to be too much for Edson Barboza. And I don't know if he's going to really have a chance to catch him clean to put Yusuff out. And I think that's the only win condition for Barboza. I think if this extends out, although people have looked at Yusuff's gas tank as potentially an issue, I just don't see that that's going to be too much of an issue in this fight. I think he's going to be able to land on Barboza. I think that he's been working on the gas tank. I think that, we see that he's essentially a killer at this point, right? He's opportunistic with the submissions. He's got the power in the hands. The way that Hardy talked about him landing in the cage, it's sort of sticking in my head. I'm going to go with Yusuff on this one, -160 up that way. I think it's deciding this. So it's not necessarily about the line in that one. I'm just going to go with my gut and say, I've tried to look at Barboza so many different ways. I think if you do play him, you play him by KO. That's just it. But I like Yusuff money line. That's just my play. So once again, Yusuff money line -160. Rodriguez -139 at Pinnacle. Elkins dog of the week at +150 at DraftKings. And Ducote by decision, McKinney round 1 and 2, parlay -104. Don't tap. Who's got the props? We got the props.